Welcome, everyone. I think I know most of you, but I'm Amanda Hodges. I'm one of the faculty here in the department. And I had the pleasure of really knowing Elizabeth Espinoza since the beginning, when she first arrived in Gainesville. And I'd have to think about what year that was, but she'll probably tell us, or she can remind us. But Elizabeth Espinoza was a master's student in our department. She received her master's in hematology and also a doctor of plant medicine student. And since she graduated, she has also been faculty at ESPO in Guayaquil, Ecuador, where she is originally from. And she actually came to us with their institution really wanting to have a doctor of plant medicine graduate at their institution as a faculty. So the dean came to UF, visited, and then she came as a student and then went back on the faculty. And we've had teams of students visit with Lisbeth for a number of years, since 2017 when she was a student. We've had several professional development field trips in Ecuador, and we've also had several of our doctor of plant medicine students complete internships there. And so we were originally planning on Elizabeth being here in person, but with some of the circumstances that we currently are facing financially and some other issues, it was best for her to deliver this seminar remotely, but we are excited to have her with us here to talk about experiences, challenges, and opportunities in the management of pests and diseases in tropical crops of Ecuador. So Elizabeth, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, everyone, for joining this seminar. It's a pleasure for me to be here, even though it's virtual mode. But I really like to share with you a little bit of my experience in here in the tropics and how crops can be affected or what are the challenges that we have and how can we change these challenges into opportunities for management of pests and disease, and how can we use these bad points to make good projects or extension projects with the farmers, and how can we do that. So I think that Amanda already did a good introduction of my profile, but yeah. As Amanda mentioned, I just graduated from the DPM program in 2017. Then I came back to Ecuador, and I started at ESPOL as a research professor. And since 2018, I've been developing different type of projects, teaching, entomology, crop protection, biology, botany, among other. Well, those are the classes that I've been teaching. I'm also the coordinator of the master program in plant health. That thanks to Amanda, we could join efforts to make this project come to the light. So we are about to start our second cohort in this program. And yeah, I also started with the laboratory of plant health and biological control. We changed the name recently. So we have done different projects in plant pathology and entomology, insect diversity, among others. So I would like to introduce a little bit of the agriculture in the tropics, basically in Ecuador. Ecuador is a country that produces a lot of exporting fruits, among bananas. It's well known worldwide for the banana production, also for cacao. We are one of the best producers of cacao for the European market. For fine chocolate, we produce and export cacao for that. And we are also the dragon fruit producers. We are the area devoted for dragon fruit production has been increasing the last years, and it's becoming one of the star products for Ecuador. So we can see the numbers. Bananas represent $4,262 million for the country, but cacao as well for $4,100 million, and dragon fruit it's increasing the amount of money that it's getting from this crop. So this is basically what we produce in the coastal area, that it's here we devote more land for exporting products like bananas, cacaos, and dragon fruits. But here in Ecuador, we also have highlands. We have mountains, and in the mountains, it's cold all the time. It's most of the time it's cold. So we produce also potatoes. We produce roses. We are well known as well for rose production and vegetables. But in this case, roses, it's a huge market as well for the country. We export to Russia, to Europe, to North America, many countries. And potatoes is basically a fundamental crop for food security for the country. And it's produced also for small families, indigenous families in the highlands. And the small vegetables or cold season vegetables like carrots, cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, among others. So those type of vegetables are produced all year round in the highlands. So we are very diverse in the production. It's divided in the two regions, but the only thing that we basically export from the highlands is the roses. Potatoes and the other vegetables is for local consumption. So given that, what are the challenges that we have here in the tropics and basically in Ecuador? One of our main challenges right now, actually, it's weather. I think it's wrong spelling. So the weather, it's one of our main challenges. Right now, we are going through really difficult season. We have raining. The raining, it's being more intense these days. So we have issues with flooding areas in most of the country. So that's one thing that we have problems. Emerging problems like emerging diseases. We have problems right now like Fusarium, race 4, and other diseases that are increasing in the country. And legal and consumer conditions, and actually farmers, the mindset of the farmers, it's also one thing that we have issues at the moment when we want to do transfer or extension, and among others. So the weather, it's extreme. The past years we have encountering extreme changes in the seasonality here in Ecuador. We have changed from extreme raining to drought conditions, very severe. So actually we have this past month, we have encountering a lot of problems of landslides, floating areas, and a lot of water in these past days. So that's it's really concerning for agriculture. As a result of this, we can see a spread of diseases and pests. It's higher the risk of that, and yeah, I can present you. Well, yeah, this is how are we doing right now with the weather conditions. So floating cities are completely underwater. The crops also are underwater, and this is how Ecuador looks right now after severe thunderstorms in the past days. So it's and in the probably 2 or 3 years ago, in the other hand, we had issues with drought. So we had power cuts for 2 or 3 months because we didn't have enough energy. to support the electricity consumption. So those extreme changes in the seasonality, it's difficult. Other thing that it's complicated here, it's that we only have 2 seasons compared to the 4 seasons that you have here there in the US. So we don't have a transition where the diseases and pests just cut the cycle and just restart for the next season. So we have the diseases and the pests all year round. So that's one of the things that it's challenging in Ecuador. So one example that I would like to bring to the table, it's the case of Fusarium, as I mentioned. What do we know about Fusarium race 4? It's a really destructive disease that it's destroying banana plantations in different, it's already destroyed a lot of plantations in Asia, Central America, Colombia, and it's also was reported in Peru. So it's caused by Fusarium, that it's a soil-borne fungus, that it's really destructive. There is no, and to my knowledge, there's no variety or insect fungicide that it's able to control this fungus. So, but now it has been reported here in Ecuador last year. So some of the examples, it was reported in December. Well, it was a few months earlier, but officially reported by December, the Fusarium race 4 in Ecuador. So it was reported in the southern area of the country, in the board near to the border with Peru, in my hometown, that it's there, it's Santa Rosa. So in one of those banana farms, they reported this Fusarium. So that area was quarantined, was closed and restricted the use of anything, and the plants were destroyed and everything was quarantined. And besides that, other farmers in general, they were using or took a lot of biosecurity measures to avoid the entrance of Fusarium to their farms. So they use biosecurity food baths, tire disinfection systems, movement control. They even try to avoid animals like free animals to move around the farm, like dogs, cats, or birds, any animal. They were trying to find a way to restrict the movement inside the farms. They use sanitation protocols. They were doing a good job monitoring and doing surveillance of the inside the farms, as I mentioned, to avoid the introduction of Fusarium. However, nobody expect that. I mean, this that as I mentioned, in the few days we encountered a lot of flooding issues, and the rivers overflowed and everything was missed. And this is the farm where it was reported the outbreak of Fusarium. So if this land was contaminated with the fungus, can you imagine what can happen if everything was underwater? All the spores and the fungus can spread around and it's going to be a mess. So producers are really concerned about what is going to happen after this season because of the flooding. So we don't know what to expect, and actually nobody was prepared for this. But yeah, we need to know. We need to consider what's going to happen after these eventualities. So this is one of the examples that we have here. Another thing that we have as a challenge is emerging diseases. We are very vulnerable to emerging plant diseases because of the high temperatures. It's all year round, the humidity, and the production that we have for the whole year. Obviously, these conditions favor the pathogen, the survival, the reproduction, and the spread. So, and the climate change, the global trade, and the movement of plant material, it's also increasing. the risk of introduction of new pathogens into tropical agricultural systems. For this example, for this thing, I have another example that we also working. We work in the first hand. Sorry. So this is one project that we had in 2020 or 21, where we were finding or we test. We actually received one sample of dragon fruit to the lab, and we detected for the first time the stem canker in dragon fruit. So after that, we did a survey around the country and to the different areas where dragon fruit it's planted. So in order to see how dispersed or how distributed was the disease around the producing areas. So actually what we found is that the disease, this stem canker, was very restricted to one area in the country, to one province and to one farm. And actually we did the report, and yeah, we expect that the disease won't spread too much. But this year, I have contacts and I have done some like brief survey where the disease it's already spread to at least 5 different provinces in the country, and the severity of the disease and it's increasing and it's causing more damage to the growers. I know that in southern Florida, this canker is really bad in the plantations of dragon fruit. So I was expecting that here it will be only just one outbreak and it will just disappear or vanish. But no, it was the opposite. So this type of issues where growers and nobody is prepared to how to react under these situations. So yeah, we were not prepared for the. Now we don't know what type of how to face this issue, like in terms of fungicide application, which ones are effective, and how to spray. And one other thing that is an issue is the period latency period where they have to spray like 15 or 20 days before they harvest. So it's complicated to manage this disease because it's also related to the stress of the plants. So actually, we don't know how to manage here in these situations where we have floating situations, we have drought situations, and stress for the plant is coming everywhere. So this is the second example in dragon fruit. So other thing that it's complicated for us in the tropics, and I think for everyone that produce do farming, is the legal regulations and consumer demands. Like for example, residue limits that for insecticides or fungicides. So because it reduced the amount of applications of the products or limit the type of products that we can use to control pests and diseases. So this is really hard because here, like I mentioned, we have a lot of pressure from a lot of disease pressure and a lot of this pest pressure. So it's not as easy to reduce the number of sprays or to reduce the type of molecules that we use to control pests or diseases. And actually, one other thing that the consumers are requiring is the sustainability for crop production. Actually, mainly for European regulations, the importers require that in the case of cacao, for example, the the pods or the beans that they receive came from farms where no plants were harmed, like they don't destroy new forest, or they don't cut more trees in order to plant cacao plantains. So they are trying to induce to the farmers to keep sustainable system, and that's sounds good, sounds nice, but it's not as effective as we think for high productions. So I'm going to give you two examples of what we do here, what have worked here in the lab in with these type of issues. Like one example is the restriction of the residuality levels of insecticides in bananas. So last year, we had a problem. Well, we have a project with one company, with a local company, where we have to test different plastic bags. So these plastic bags are covered. The banana bunch is covered. Actually, the flower of the banana plant is covered with these plastic bags that are impregnated with insecticides, with different type of insecticides. So the idea is that this plastic bag repels the thrips, mealybugs, or any insects, and avoid the insect to get into the flower and damage the bunch. So these bags have certain technology for release of the molecules and that kind of thing. So each company have their own technology for the release. They have the dose of the product and the different mix of the molecules to improve the effect of the insecticides. And at the same time, trying to reduce the residuality of these products in the bananas, so they cannot have issues with in the US or in Europe for the residuality. So we tested for this company. We evaluate different cover bags that they new technologies for the market, for our market, and to see if these plastic bags, these technologies improve the effect against against the pest, the thrips, mealybugs, and thrips and mealybugs, basically, which are the most damaging, and how these these cover bags, what was the effect or the damage that they can affect the bunch. So we cover the flowers as usual with the different plastic bags, and then after we check in the middle of the season, I mean in the middle of the development of the bunch, check the incidence of the insects, of thrips and mealybugs. And after that, when the bunch was mature and they harvested, we measure the number of hands that were damaged and the number of hands that were clean. So with that value, we evaluate the efficacy of each plastic bag with the different technology. I want to mention that this was a blind test because the company, they almost never gave us the products that we were evaluating. So we actually don't know what product, what insecticide, or what was the technology for each bag. So that was a blind test. And we just recently finished with this project, and we are about to evaluate all the results for the plastic bags. So another example of work that we're doing here in the lab, it's another project that we have with another company, conservation of cacao, conservation of diversity in cacao farms. As I mentioned, some consumers are demanding more sustainable production and environmental friendly management. So in this project, we are evaluating the diversity of insects and yeah, of insect and plants in two cacao systems. One system is a monoculture system, and the other farms were mostly monoculture, but they were around or surrounded by natural areas. So we set up some traps in the farms, malaise traps and pitfall traps to determine the diversity of soil insects and flying insects. And then in the two seasons, in the dry season and in the wet season. And then we're finishing the morphological evaluation and counting of the insects of the farms. And after that, we're going to do we also did the molecular analysis, DNA extractions, and send it for sequencing. So that's one thing that the company actually is interested in and understand and to know if any of these systems can affect in significant way the diversity of insects. So in that case, they can recommend to the farmers to include other trees um, or to not deforest the areas surrounding the farm. So, and besides that, I know that there is a movement that it's trying to keep for the carbon food is in the ecological services. So that's another point that some companies and some consumers are trying to reduce the carbon footprint and trying to increase the ecological services for these areas. So, well, farmers, this is a big challenge, not only in the tropics, but I think, and everyone that works in extension might agree with me that farmers, it's a huge challenge to trying to change their mindsets and trying to make them adopt new technologies or recommendations for even for applications, not applications, cultural management, cultural practices, and different things. Farmers can be really helpful sometimes, but sometimes it's really complicated to reach them and trying to change their minds or their thoughts about some things that they already know or they think to know. So it's I think that that's one of the hardest parts, and we need a lot of patience and a lot of um, understanding of the people to trying to make these more doable from our standpoint, and trying to help them because all the research and all the work that we do, it's basically to trying to help them. But if they don't understand or they don't want to apply the recommendations that we are offering to them, it's our work is useless. So this is a big part of the research or the agriculture that we need to change, and we're trying to change from the university and from different areas. And I think that's something that it happens everywhere, also in the US. So this is another thing that it's important. And how can change these challenge into opportunities? Well, as I mentioned, one important thing is partnerships with industry for product development. We are also doing a partnership with another companies to develop these kind of to testing new molecules for different pests and diseases. So this is important for us because we can get financing for the lab, and we can also get information. We can have data for publishing. So that's good because even though we cannot afford to do basic research, we are doing the applied part. So that's interesting, and that's some of the opportunities that we can take from that. Identification of new diseases, it happens a couple times here in the lab. We received some um, samples from the farmers, and actually we have with that, we have here like a small plant disease clinic. So we receive samples, and based on that, on those samples, we have detected several diseases that farmers were not um, aware that they had, like the canker, and also viral diseases in dragon fruits. We have another research that we have done in that area. So identification of new diseases or new pests that can go into a new projects or new opportunities for development. So adoption of new agricultural technologies, it's something that we can change this into opportunities, because when in different countries like the US, Europe, that are more developed, they create or they do these technologies. We have the work of test it and do the establishment for our conditions, and evaluation of protocols to reduce the pesticide use. That's something, one other area where we can have opportunities for research, for projects, or for partnerships with other companies or universities or any other agent that is interested. Um, Training, it's also important. So we use all our research and our projects for to share with the students and other colleagues and in the area. And here is we are have doing some work with tobacco, developing, I mean, diagnosing diseases, as I mentioned. And here we are doing one work for the product development for one company that is well known around. So these are the opportunities that personally, and I think I have used all these years to improve the lab and to use these challenges into opportunities. So the take-home message is that, well, agriculture in general, not only tropical, but agricultural in general is challenging, because the time and pests of disease change really quick. Well, I think here in the tropics, yes, it's faster. The change is faster, and but it can also offer important opportunities to connect research, innovation, and sustainability to improve the production and the farmer's livelihood. So this is basically my take-home message, and I would like to thank my team. It's a very young team, and they are really hard workers. So all these projects are um, thanks to them. So they help a lot. And well, that's it. And if you have questions, I'm more than happy to take them.
Yes, Ellison.
Lisbeth, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, thank you so much for your talk. I have a question for you. I don't know very much about banana production, but in the grocery store, I see organic and conventional banana.
Mhm.
What are the organic growers doing that they don't need the pesticide impregnated bag?
So actually, they spray different type of insecticides that are recommended for the OMRI, that it's the organic association that recommends. They use organic products instead of the conventional. But the thing is that the rate of um, productivity is lower than the conventional because since they don't use the plastic bags, the bunch is exposed for insects. So they need to find a way to avoid the insects going through the flower or the bunch. And even though they try to do that, they spray extracts of plants and that kind of things. But at the time of the harvest, some of the hands are like they have scratches or they have stings. So it's not for international market for exporting. So their ratio of productivity is lower. Mhm.
Thank
So-
you.
So Elizabeth, Ecuador doesn't really export much in the way of organic bananas, they're mostly conventional?
Uh, well, they do export. It's not the same amount of conventional, but there is a huge market, like comparative, of organic bananas. There is some, I mean, it's considerable. It's not something like minimum, but it's not as huge. Let's say that conventional bananas can be 75% of the market, and convention and organic bananas can have the 25% area of production.
A very interesting talk. Related to this, with bananas, are there any technologies outside of insecticides that may work for organic, perhaps like resistant plants, or perhaps if there are any genetically modified bananas? Is there any research related to this within Ecuador?
So here, not in Ecuador, but I know that in Europe they are developing the interference RNA for they're trying to introduce that technology in the banana plants. So for insects for insect management. So the insects can like try or test a little bit of the plant and the RNA can like kill them or uh, avoid for them to keep feeding from the plant. That's something that it's not for the market yet, but I know that some colleagues here are trying to test that technology. Even for, I think they are doing something for black leaf spot for black sigatoka. So they are trying to test that technology as well for like RNA interference.
Thank you.
Mhm.
We have some time, so just go ahead.
Okay. I also have a question about the banana bags. I saw on your slide you had like an assortment of colors. Is that just to denote the different insecticides you're testing, or like does the color affect how the bananas grow or like repel pests at all?
Well, actually, that depends on the company. Each company can manage their own colors, I mean, those colors are standards. And the company decides if they can they usually keep the same color. Let's say I am a producer, I keep the blue color. So I know that that farm is using my bags because they are using the blue color. Yep. It's not, they have the different molecules, but within the same color. But no, not it depends on the company. Each company can have their own colors. Mhm.
Hi, Elizabeth. I have a question about the conservation project, the ones with the monocultures and then the monocultures surrounded by the forest.
Mhm.
So you mentioned some DNA extraction in that, and I was just wondering, is that do you collect a sample in like a pitfall trap or some trap? And then is the DNA sequencing for metabarcoding all the insects?
Yes,
Could I do those?
yes, it's for metabarcoding. So we pull all the samples into one tube, and then we did the extraction for we use the Kiahen soil sample DNA kit, soil extraction. So with that kit, we extracted the DNA, the total DNA, and then we ship it to Canada to Canada for the sequencing. And yeah, we are waiting for the results. And but at the same time, we are doing the morphological characterization of the samples here in the lab.
Hmm.
Mhm.
What kind of traps do you use for that?
Pitfall and Malays.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions? Okay.
Have you seen an interest in drones in agriculture in Ecuador?
What? Sorry?
Drones for surveilling crop fields?
Yeah, yeah. There is something that's more common. It's becoming more common. The drones use it for spray applications. They are also basically they are doing that more than for surveillance. Some companies are not that aware of how to monitoring the diseases or that kind of things. They are basically replacing the airplanes for drones to make them more like specific in specific areas instead of spray all the 200 or 300 hectares of bananas. They locate the hot spots where the disease pressure is higher, so they can spray like only that area. So yeah, that's how they are using the drones. Specifically in bananas.
Okay, go ahead.
Mhm.
We have another comment.
So I wanted to ask also, so you mentioned the major crops being dragon fruit, cacao, and banana, and that there are insect pests. Is the main problem these insects cause, is this direct feeding damage, or are they vectoring certain plant pathogens? What is the major concern? Is it population control for damage or spread of viruses / bacteria?
Well, in the case of bananas, we have the main disease, the main problem in bananas is not fungus. It's not an insect. It's basically the black spot, cigatoca, black cigatoca. So that's the main concern that they had, but because right now they have two more diseases that are causing more damages, that it's the moco that it's caused by Ralstonia solanacearum and Fusarium race 4. So those three diseases are the main concerns in bananas. Secondary in plantains, we have issues with weevils, with Cosmopolita sordidus and Metamasius that are the bananas weevil and palm weevil. And then so because they damage the corn. And then so in the case of cacao, we have some insects like steam bugs, Monalonium, that they can damage the pod. And we also have issues with mealybugs that last 2 years we had a severe really bad outbreak of mealybugs in cacao. But this season, the mealybugs are already controlled. And there was a concern of the introduction of the ay, me olvidé, cacao swollen stem virus from Africa, but that was discarded. So we didn't report, we do not have that disease, that virus is spread mainly for mealybugs. But no, we don't have that. And in the case of dragon fruits, yes, we have issues with insects vectoring viruses, but mainly that's not the concern because the viruses that dragon fruits have are mechanically distributed. So they cut the stems, the cladodes, the branches, and they plant new. They use them as cuttings.
Yes.
So they use the cladodes as cuttings, and they spread the virus without the need of insects. So yeah, so basically our main concerns right now it's diseases. In the small crops, we have more problems with insects.
Very interesting. Thank you.
I wanted to ask, what is the, how are the farms, what is the ownership? How do I put it? I don't have the right English for that. But who owns these farms? Do we have some of these big farms that are owned by companies? And we have a few packets of the farms that are owned by individual farmers and things like that. How does that work out in Ecuador with especially bananas and dragon fruit?
Well, actually, bananas, it's a huge thing here in Ecuador. And let's say that we have 50% of the area that it's owned by few companies, and the other 50% of the area it's divided among farmers. I don't know how many, but it's for farmers. But let's say that half of the banana area it's owned by huge companies like Dole, Chiquita, etc., like that they have hundreds or even thousands of hectares of bananas. And we have the small farmers that they can have their organic farms, for example, or they join into associations to produce or to export. But most of the area it's usually, and it's getting more towards the small farmers sell to the big companies. So it's moving, that's the tendency.
And I know the last time I think we talked some time ago, we were talking about the issue with nematodes. Even in cacao, we have Pachylencos and some other species that are also important. In banana, we have legion nematode, we also have burrow nematodes, and in your vegetable as well. So how does that play out? Is it that most of the nematode issues are dealt with already, or those are still pretty much significant?
Depending, I mean, in bananas sometimes they have outbreaks of nematodes, but I think that the management of the nematodes in bananas, at least it's controlled. So they know how to do or how to manage nematodes in banana farms. Cacao, it's not a big deal. Nematodes are not a big deal. Dragon fruit, yes, it's a big deal, but we still don't know how to manage the nematodes in dragon fruit. That was something that I really want to go into and trying to do some research, but I didn't get funding for that project. So yeah, but yeah, that's one thing that I realized when I had the first project in dragon fruit that for stem canker, the incidence and the populations of nematodes in dragon fruit can stress the plant, and they can be more likely to have a higher severity of the disease. So that can be more, the plant can be more stressed because nematodes and the canker can be stressed, can express more damage in the aerial part. And that and the water stress were some of the things that affect the development of the stem canker.
Okay.
So, I was just also wondering if you could just describe how faculty and students can get involved. Are there research projects where students could come work with you, or are there collaborative opportunities with the faculty here to partner with you in some of this research?
Yeah, so actually I already had several DPM students, no, three, I remember. Sage, Morgan, and Hannah. They came here to Ecuador and they get involved into the programs, the projects. Morgan and Sage, they came here when I just started with the lab, so they helped me to establish, and they were really helpful with at that time. And then Hannah, she came when we had going on some projects. So she helped us with the in bananas, trying to establish populations of trips from bananas, and she also helped us with the dragon fruit project. So right now we have some opportunities for international students and for local students. Here we actually have interns and volunteers that help in the lab in the project. So, and we are collaborating, as I mentioned, with companies and with colleagues from different countries as well. The diversity project, it's in collaboration with SIAT, with Bahening and Cargill, and the other banana project, it's sponsored by Syngenta. So we have we are doing work with different companies. So we're more than open to collaborate if you need some support from the tropics for collecting establish. We do different things. We don't do molecular work because we don't have the equipment, but we have a colleague that have a molecular lab. So we can do that, but this is not that's not the core of the lab. But if you as a students are open, the campus is really pretty. I actually had an intern from Colombia last year. We have the residencies here where the students can stay in the campus, and it's getting better and better every year. So yeah, it's nice because you can learn from the different crops that are not common in the US, and you can be prepared for the worst scenario here, and yeah, so as students, you are more than welcome to come here to the lab, and if you need some support, if you have ideas or thoughts, we are a really interdisciplinary lab to collaborate. But basically, we do applied research, and yeah.
Yeah, and the dorm is very nice, and when there's space, I mean, we were just there last year with a student field trip, and several students were in the dorm. It's very nice, and it's right there on campus and low cost.
Yeah, we have natural areas. We're in the middle of the forest. And if you like to hike, if you like to do exercise, we have facilities for everything. And yeah, now we have the mini market here in the campus. So that's good, convenient, more convenient. So yeah.
Yeah, okay, thank you, that's all we can have for today.
Okay, thank you.